Hello and welcome to Motors for the Masses, and today we have a head-to-head between two city scooters. So let's roll the intro and get cracking. So what have we got? Well, in the grey corner, we've got the 2022 Peugeot Tweet 125, and in the not so grey corner, we've got the 2022 Sinis Connect 125. Both bikes use a 4-stroke fuel-injected air-cooled engine, but with slightly different power outputs. The Sinnis develops 9.7 brake horsepower and 6.5 pounds-foot of torque, where the Peugeot develops 11.3 brake horsepower and 7.6 pounds-foot of torque. So the test ride will reveal just what difference that makes. On paper, the Sinnis is said to do 55 to 60 miles an hour top speed, where the Peugeot is to do just over 60. The Sinnis produces 62 CO2s, where the Peugeot Tweet is just 56. The Sinnis is said to do 100 miles per gallon, whereas the Peugeot, the MPG figure is 116. Both bikes use disc brakes front and rear, but where the Peugeot has a 226mm disc on the front and on the back, the Sinnis uses a 260mm front disc and a 220mm rear disc. However, the braking systems used are different. Now, the Sinnis uses what you find on most bikes these days, combined braking system, whereas the Peugeot uses what they call the synchro brake system. So they used a bias box rather than the linked brake through the front caliper like the Sinnis does. So what does that mean in terms of braking performance? Well, with the combined brake system, basically they feel the same. The difference is if you hold one brake and then you apply the other one, you can feel the other one slightly move. The combined brake system works that if you use the front brake, you only get front brake. If you use the rear brake, you also get about 25% front brake to stop you slamming on your brake and skidding out when you're under heavy braking. So that one is what you find on most bikes these days, whereas the bias box system, it's almost like whichever brake you use first, the other one sort of complements it and compensates for how much braking it feels you need for a smoother braking action. Now that can feel a little bit weird, and I'll show you what I mean on the handlebars. So on the Sinnis, if I use the front brake, it feels fine. If I use the rear brake, it feels the same. An equal amount of pressure on both. Now if I hold one and then pump the other one, I can feel a tiny bit of movement in the front brake as well. If I hold the rear and then pump the front, can't really feel anything, to be honest. Front, pump the rear, tiny bit of movement. So on the Peugeot, if I hold the front brake, feels fine, normal, about half amount, that's good. If I then push the rear brake, this one, you can really feel move. Right, and then this one goes almost solid. Then when you let go, that one goes solid. So you've got more pressure on this. It's still hard, but that one is almost hardly anything on the feel. Use that one first, halfway down. This one, very solid, and you can feel them pumping quite a lot. And this one's really solid. So if you put them together, it's fine, equal. But one first and then the other, solid. First, then the other, solid. It feels odd to get used to, because it's like this one is halfway down, this one is hardly moving, and then vice versa if you do it the other way around. But equally together, they feel fine. So it encourages you really to use both brakes at the same time, whereas the Sinnis, it doesn't matter. You just use a brake and it works. Now, when I get both these bikes out on the road, I'll see if that actually makes any difference to how the brakes feel and how they actually stop the bike and how the bike feels under braking whilst on the road. Both bikes use 16-inch wheels, front and back, with CST 110 tyres, front and rear also. But there is a slight difference in the tread used. That's about it. Now, the advantage of having 16-inch wheels means it should be a much smoother ride, because it'll go over those road imperfections more easily and soak up the bumps easier. But of course, that does depend also on the suspension. Now, both bikes use 30mm front forks and twin rear shocks. But how does that feel? Well, obviously we'll know more when we're on the road, but at the moment the front forks feel okay. They do what they're supposed to do on there. Bouncy wise, it is a little bouncy, but not excessive, and it actually feels quite comfortable. And the seat also feels comfortable, and we'll come on to that a little bit more when I'm riding. Peugeot. Ease to get on and off the stand, very simple. Hardly any effort at all with this one. Front suspension feels and sounds a bit oh no, that's all right now. Now the oil's going through them, they are new still. Yeah, feels about the same as the other one. I would say perhaps a little bit more dampening. And on the back, a bit more boingy. Yeah. Not as harsh initially, a little bit more rebound and a bit softer on the rear suspension whilst I'm bouncing it. Of course, on the road we'll tell whether that is jittery and this is softer because of how it feels now. I don't know. But again, and comfortability wise, pretty much the same, to be honest. The seat is a little bit narrower, it's angled down a bit more, whereas this one has got the bolstered sides, but it's quite thin. So equally the same. I would say out of the two, I probably prefer the material of the Peugeot over this ridged stitching on the side of the Sinnis. And I'll bring you in for a closer look on those. Again, ease to get on and off the stand. Very simple, no effort at all, very easy. So this is what I mean by the seats. You can see on the Sinnis here, this sort of comes, this ridge, you can feel that ridge on your inner legs. Not too bad when you've got your feet up, because obviously your legs sort of come off here, but when you put your feet down, you can feel that in the side. It's not horrendous, don't get me wrong, it's not off-putting, you just know it's there. However, if you're wearing bike trousers, you won't be able to feel it, whereas this is just one soft piece of material, so there's no ridges to dig in. Comfortability wise, as far as the seat's concerned, the padding is a little bit harder on the Sinnis, but I like the seat design more. It looks better on the Sinnis, feels slightly better on the Peugeot. Now I do want to say that the bump that goes with the Peugeot is a little bit misleading, because it states rear suspension adjustable, 3 positions. Now that hints at the fact that it's height adjustable, but it isn't. It's just like all the other suspensions where it's 3 adjustable levels of preload. That's it, not height adjustable. So don't think you can adjust the height, because you can't. So let's take a look at the lights on both these bikes. Now the Sinnis, as you can see there, nice bright LED light, and when I start it, so you can hear the bike running as well. Nice DRLs down the side here, very nice design, and your main light up here. I like that, main beam, nice and bright, very good, very impressed with that. Whereas on the Peugeot, you've got a more traditional light here. You've got your little DRLs down the bottom there. Light is just a normal light. It's still bright enough, but and your main beam there like that. Again, sound-wise, it's a 125 scooter. I would say the Peugeot is a tiny bit quieter. That's about it. Right, let me show you the rear lights and the dash. But before I do show you the rear lights, I'm just going to show you the indicators. So the Sinis indicator, nice and bright, whereas the Peugeot is audible and also just as bright, really. Sorry. So the Sinis has this lovely LED light, brake light, very nice, and of course the indicator again, just as bright, and I like the way it's sort of incorporated in here, very nice indeed, loving that. However, the Peugeot is typically French. You want late, I give you late. There you go, very late. Sorry about my French. Indicator, by all means, the indicator is now on. It makes noise. What more do you want? Brake light, don't know what that accent was. We have a brake light, marvelous. Right, time for lunch. Dimensions, well, the Sinis is 1.98 meters long, where the Peugeot is 20 millimeters longer. The Sinis is 685 millimeters wide, where the Peugeot is 690 millimeters wide, just 5 millimeters longer. The Sinis is 1.15 meters tall, and the Pug is 1.12 meters tall. And there's 20 millimeter difference in the wheelbase. And both bikes, strangely, weigh 120 kilos dry. The Sinis has a very easy to read dash. It's all obviously LED or LCD and very clear. Obviously you've got your fuel gauge down here, your mileage there, and your speedo there, and any buttons you need up here. Set button is touch sensitive, like so. It's not an actual button. You can touch it through the screen and then adjust on this side. I like that, it's nice. Where the Peugeot is a little bit more simple. You've got an analog speedo and then a part LCD display for your fuel and your clock, and then your buttons on here. A little bit more simple, and I don't know which I prefer. I think I prefer the Sinis, to be honest. The seat tub on the Peugeot is big enough to fit a full-size helmet, so it's nice and plentiful in size, and you've got your immobiliser lock in there as well. As is the seat tub in the Sinis. Not quite as deep, but obviously it's a different angle here, so you've still got plenty of space in there. However, you do not get an immobiliser in here. Now I'm going to get a full face helmet and just test out that size. So first of all, the Sinis. Now this, what I'm using is a modular helmet, so slightly wider than most. And it doesn't quite fit. So if you've got a flip helmet, it's not going to fit in there. And I shall try a full face helmet in a second. So with the standard full face helmet, that fits in there okay, but it doesn't close. That's a little bit frustrating. That's just a traditional full face helmet. So it looks like you're going to struggle with a full face lid in there. Okay. Yeah, open face it is. Right, Peugeot. So with the Peugeot, let's look at the traditional lid first. That goes in there, and that also doesn't close. What's that about? Why do they make seat tubs that don't fit a full-size lid? I mean, I'm not really forcing that in there, just putting it in, and it still doesn't close. Seriously? Try the other way around. It's not going to make any difference, is it? No. Well, the modular one isn't going to fit either then. Let me just try it anyway, in case I'm going mad. I don't think it will. Modular helmet. And it goes in a bit easier, but it still doesn't close. So, genius that is. Right, try an open face, shall we? Right, so now I've got a city helmet for a city bike. A city helmet. That goes in there. That doesn't close. Oh, stop. Has to. Now it won't go over the hump. Really? So the hump is the problem. This hump in the middle, that's the reason why. What if I do it like that and put it that way? No, that and that way. No. So you cannot get any form of helmet in the Peugeot helmet section because the hump in here is just too large, it's too wide. That seems to be its problem. Right, let's try it on the Sinnis. Okay, the city helmet in the city bike on the city Sinnis. I think we're gonna have the same problem. Oh, it closes slightly more than the Peugeot, but it still doesn't close. What's that about? It's this stupid hump in here. That can't be the case. What if I widen the pads? I shouldn't have to do that with a top box. I mean, the idea of a top box, or under-seat storage, is to put your blooming helmet in it. That is so disappointing. So both bikes are useless. Okay, I refuse to give up. What I now have is a different style of city helmet. Now this, I'm hoping, it's a city style open face helmet with the visor, but it does look wider in there. Come on, something has to, oh. Yes, we have a winner. Right, in which case then, if you want to buy this Sinnis and you want to get your helmet underneath the seats, you need a VCAN V595. Available at Lightning Storm Motorcycles at just $59.99. Right, Peugeot. Come on, Peugeot, you can do it. Right, VCAN 595. No! Fail on the Peugeot. Right, well the French obviously don't like VCAN. What about if I move the visor up slightly? Move it down here. No, it's just too wide. Nope. This bit in the middle here, where the engine sits and above, is just too big. Right, so you cannot put a helmet under a Peugeot. So, using the city style helmet, thusly, from VCAN, and I'm sure there's others available. If you want to stick it under a Peugeot Tweet, non, ce n'est pas fit. If you want to put it under a Sinnis, should Chinese fit. I know some Chinese, but I don't know Chinese for it fits under the seat. If you know, I'm sure my wife does, put it in the comments section below. All right, let's move on. That's enough about seats and helmets. I'm disappointed, I have to say, especially in the Peugeot. Okay, so here we go. First of all, out on the Peugeot Tweet 125. I'm actually very pleased with the way it pulls away. Nice and smooth, but also pretty rapid. And we're up to 45 miles an hour already without even knowing it. That's pretty good actually. Visibility out the mirrors is good. I've got about 85% visibility, so I'm pretty impressed with that. No worries there. Looks like it might rain. Hope not. The seat is very comfortable. Let's try these brakes. Front brake first, then rear. Oh yeah, that pulls up really well. Left brake first, then front. Oh yeah. Oh, quite like that. Very responsive brakes. Feels a bit like ABS. Here comes the bloomin' rain. Seriously? I do like the pull away. That is very smooth. Like that. It's got some get up and go. Let's squeeze in here. Let's have that. Okay. You're slow to pull away. Oh, okay. I'm really pleased with that. It does pull away nicely. Now, the only thing I will say is that being a French bike, you're going to have to look on the inside numbers, because the outside is all kilometres, inside is miles. So that may be a little confusing until you get used to it. What's also confusing is that it's really sunny and raining. Welcome to England. The weather's an idiot. But it's very smooth. Decent balance on the road. Very simple. The suspension is really good, actually. But seriously, look at it. Blazing sun and quite hard rain now. I apologise if there's rain on the lens. I shall turn round and go around the other way, and hopefully that'll take the water off the lens. Seriously, it's really coming down. What the hell? Well, like I say, this is England. Oh, it's hail. Brilliant. So we've got hail and beautiful sunshine. Amazing. Right. What the hell is going on? Oh, look at that, look. Well, it makes for an interesting video, I guess. And the other interesting thing is, no matter which way I'm going, it's driving at me. Going the other way, it was driving directly at me, and now going this way, it's driving directly at me. Oh, blazing sunlight, look at that, look lovely. Mixed with hail. Well, the only advantage of hail is that it's not as wet. Oh, that's it, hail's gone. There's not much I can say. I am pleasantly surprised by how it rides. It's very comfortable. My knees still have room down here. The switches are easy to get to. Decent visibility in the mirrors. Let's see if I can pull away and beat the car next to me. Not that it's a race. Oh, he's revving. He tried. And we're up to speed. Yeah, not bad at all. That does ride very well. Be interesting to see how the Sinis performs in comparison. I shall be out on that in a minute. But this certainly does what it's supposed to do. I can see this getting up to 60 miles an hour without any issues whatsoever, especially once it's run in. It does feel well planted. It's not a heavy bike, but it's also not a light bike. And it does pull away smoothly. The handlebars feel great, to be honest. There's not any jolting or jittering. There's no bounce up and down from the rear suspension. It is very soft and very easy to use. Be careful, slippery, icy-ish roads on new tyres. But yeah, I am pleased by this. And for a bike that's only just started its life, it does very well. Okay, so now we're on the Sinis Connect 125. Pull away, it's negligible if there's a difference in the acceleration speed. Again, it gets up to speed almost identically as the Peugeot Tweet does. Very little difference. Visibility of the mirrors is about the same. In fact, if anything, a little bit better than the Peugeot. I would say it's about 95% visibility. There's been a slight break in the weather, so hopefully we won't get any snow, hail, rain, hurricanes, tornadoes, or whatever. Tsunamis maybe. But yeah, I will say the dash is much easier to see on here, being digital and being large. You certainly know what speed you're doing. You don't have to look twice or be confused by whether it's kilometres or miles. Switch gears are easy to use. No real difference to the Peugeot. It's equally as smooth. It's not jolty when you accelerate going around roundabouts and things. Yeah, holds the road very well. And back up to speed, pulls away very easily, and you can certainly see what speed you're doing. Yes, I prefer the dash on this. Very, very easy. Suspension wise, it is a tiny bit, and I mean a tiny bit, bouncier than the Peugeot. Again, not horrendous, but it's not as smooth on the rear suspension than the Peugeot is. I can feel going over the knobbly bits there, that I can feel my body jittering a little bit, whereas the Peugeot I didn't feel anything. So perhaps the Peugeot is a little bit smoother. Bearing in mind, of course, both these bikes have to have the suspension settling in and have to have their engines running. But other than that, it is perfectly usable, and it doesn't feel very much different to the Peugeot. Again, I am pleased and surprised by how well it does feel and how good it does ride. Sound wise, they both sound the same. There's nothing major. Definitely a little bit more jitter on the rear suspension on this one. You can feel it taking the bumps a little bit harder than the Peugeot does, like coming up to the rumble strips there. But when I pull away here, let's see what it's like in comparison. I've got a BMW next to me revving his engine. Really? I'm on a little 125 scooter. What do you think is going to happen? Okay, in your M3 and your Golf GTI. Well, it's not a race. If I'd have beaten you, mate, it would have been a poor show. But again, up to speed. Now, I will have to say, pulling away from the lights there, it's not as rapid as the Peugeot was. Not by much, but not quite as rapid. But equally as smooth. And again, being a city scooter, you don't really need something that's going to shoot away from the lights at a great rate of knots. If you did, you wouldn't be on a 125 for starters. You certainly wouldn't be on a city scooter. But it still feels really good, to be honest. I've got no complaints. Out of the two, which I prefer the dash of the Sinnis. I prefer the ride of the Peugeot, but not by much. But I do prefer the dash of the Sinnis by much. That is definitely a lot better. Taking the roundabout is just the same. You feel just as confident on the corners, and yeah, no worries there. Right then, let's get back inside and talk about the price and comparisons. Okay, so before that horrible weather comes thundering down, let's look at these two here. So the Peugeot Tweet and the Sinis Connect. Like I said, in comparison, the ride feels almost the same, apart from it's a little bit more bouncy on the Sinis Connect than it is on the Peugeot Tweet. That's a bit softer on the rear suspension. Other than that, acceleration is a little bit better on the Peugeot than it is on the Sinnis, but that's because it does have a couple more horsepower. A big advantage is you do have a little tray on here, but it doesn't really go anywhere. I'll show you. See what I mean? You can get what? Packet of Rizzlers, a Capri Sun, a Curly Whirly and a Crunchy in there. Possibly a Lion Bar. You certainly won't get anything wide in there. I mean, at the end of the day, it's better than the Sinnis, which has nothing. You've got your under-seat storage, but you can get your helmet. So, looks-wise, Sinis Connect wins it for me. It's much nicer to look at from the front. I do like those lights. I like the design. I like this LED light on the front here. The Sinnis definitely looks nicer. The Peugeot looks, I'd say, more for the older market, where the Sinnis is more for the younger market. But they're city scooters, so they're both for the older market, I would say. Exhaust note, they both sound the same. The Peugeot is a tiny bit quieter, but it's negligible. It's not even worth mentioning, really. You do get the rack here that you can put a top box on, and you're going to need it if you want to put a helmet in there. This one has a plate with some nothingness under there, or some ridges underneath, so you can probably pop that plate off. There is apparently a scooter coming down the road. Can you hear that? It's moving really, really slowly. You do get a USB on the Sinnis as well. Look, USB. I didn't see one on the Peugeot. Is there one in here? No, I don't think so. No. And no. Perhaps that's because it's for the older generation. US what? USB? What is this USB nonsense? We don't have anything to plug in there. Oh no. Whereas the younger generation can plug a phone in and then have the wire go somewhere else. Yeah, okay. It's great having a USB, but if you haven't got anything to plug into it, what's the point? And where would you mount your thing? Yeah, okay, whatever. Both have side stands, and both are ones that flick rather than springy. Springy side stands are horrible. Right then, talk about price. So there you go, that's what I think of those. Now, price-wise, the Peugeot is £2,999 on the road with a 2-year parts and labour warranty. The Sinnis is £2,399 on the road, so £600 cheaper. That comes with a 2-year parts warranty and then 1-year labour warranty and 1-year breakdown recovery through the motoring organisation. So, what do you think? Now, okay, the Peugeot is slightly better in performance, as in it's a little bit quicker, and the ride is slightly different, but I think the ride is subjective. It depends what you want from the bike. For what the bikes are designed to do, sort of 50 odd miles an hour city riding, they are absolutely great at it, both of them. If you wanted a little bit more speed, maybe 60 and beyond, then you're probably not going to be looking at this style of bike. You'll be looking at something a bit more sporty or something that's a different style, not the urban city bike that these two are. The only letdown for me on this is the fact that you can't get any form of helmet whatsoever, unless you want a colander on your head, under the seat. Whereas this, you can. V595 at $59.99. Let me know in the comment section below whether you think these are the bikes for you, which one do you prefer and why? Is there an alternative? And I'm waiting for people to mention the Honda Vision 110, which is £2,500 on the road, except that's only got 8.5 brake horsepower and it's only a 110. Other than that, I can't think of anything that's going to be this style of bike as a rival for these style of bikes. So if you can think of anything else that I've forgotten, then please let me know in the comment section below what you think. Do you have one of these? Do you like it? Did you go for this over that? Did you have these as an option? Did you go for something else? Do you even care? I hope so. Otherwise, why are you watching this video? Anyway, so that's all I have time to say. Please pop back next time when we'll be with something else. Oh, I've got the Mustang. That's going in to have its engine and gearbox fitted and the exhaust fitted. It's having its engine bay sprayed. I've got to finish the welding on the engine bay, which I'm doing tomorrow, which in actual fact, I'm filming this on Wednesday, so I've already done it. And then it's going in to have its body resprayed. Yes, the colour is going on, so stay tuned for videos on that coming up. It's been a while on that one. And we've got the MGB G1 electric bike. That's going to be happening as well. And then there'll be other stuff as well, of course. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope everyone has been safe in these storms we've been having recently, especially up in Scotland and down in Cornwall, where they've been seriously hammered by the storms. We've been sort of all right over here in the East Coast, but hopefully you're all safe and you're all well. And you're probably all right because you've got internet, because you're watching this. If not, who am I talking to? I've waffled enough. So until next time, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun, and let's see if you watch the credits till the end. That's all I'm saying. So until next time, please ride and drive carefully, but have fun. Bye-bye. So I'm here with my brother, Bob. He's slightly less beardy, slightly more baldy, slightly bushier eyebrowed version of me. Although he's got that sort of staring into nothingness look, as though only he knows what he's thinking. What are you thinking, Bob? What are you even staring at? No idea. Talk to me, Bob. I'm here for you. You ain't heavy. You're my brother. Anyway, must be going mad.